Okay, so what I wanted to do today, which is a quick video on the a lot of you are seeing the subcontractor agreement request come across. There's been some questions about it and how it applies to your insurance. So I thought I'd just do this quick video. It might kind of help the confusion. It's just a lot to type out in an email and give clarity. So I thought this may help. So a little background: what the carriers are trying to do. So the insurance carrier on your policy, they're insuring the named insured, your business, right? They don't want to insure a bunch of uninsured subcontractors. That's not the intent of any carrier's insurance policy, regardless of what industry you're servicing. The carrier on the primary named insured is not in business to insure a lot of uninsured subcontractors. So that's kind of the intent of this. And also to kind of clarify, a subcontractor is a company that you are hiring to perform services on your job site. So if you go into a home for water damage or decomp or whatever it may be that you have to go in and clean it up, and maybe you need to take the flooring out, maybe you need to cut the bottom 2 feet of sheetrock, whatever you need to do to properly remediate the job. Maybe it requires some build back or some new carpet or tile or whatnot, and that's not, you don't have an in-house crew to do that, so you hire ABC flooring or ABC drywall to come do the work for you, and then they invoice you and you invoice your customer. That is a subcontractor. So that's what we're referring to here. Someone that you're hiring to work for you and you're paying them cash or 1099ing them, that's an independent contractor or casual labor. In the eyes of the law, that's your employee. It doesn't matter how you're paying them. It's still your employee and you're liable from a work comp standpoint. But from a subcontractor standpoint, that's not what we're talking about here. So this agreement here, and I'm going to touch on really two main carriers right now because they're the ones that are really pushing this. We're seeing a lot of this from them, but it's going to trickle down to other carriers because we're seeing a lot of activity from a claim standpoint related to this. That's what's generating all this. So this agreement right here, this master subcontract agreement, this was actually provided to us by GuideOne National, who is one of the carriers participating in the remediation program. They have a packaged environmental policy. A lot of you have heard their name. A lot of you might be placed with them. So this is the agreement they sent us to use as kind of a template. So a lot of you have seen this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I just kind of want to hit a few high points. First, you don't have to use this. This is just an example, but you can adopt it as your standard operating procedure if you would like. And the key points for this one that the carriers are looking for is, first, that it is part of your standard operating procedure, meaning you're using this for every subcontractor on every job. Okay. And the reason why you may want to read through this and edit it and make it your own, have your attorney, review it, is like this here. There's a $200 per day surcharge in this agreement for subcontractors that you've hired that are not doing their work in a timely manner. So you might not want that in there. So that's up to you. The carrier is not after that, so you may want to look at this and edit it to fit your needs. And that's just an example of something that you might want to take out. All right, so we're getting to the insurance requirements. So for GuideOne, this is what they want to see. They want to see that your subcontractor carries $1 million per occurrence limit on the general liability, and they want them to have a $2 million aggregate. That matches your current limits, base limit. Some of you have got higher limits, but that's the base limit, or what we call 1-2, which is $1 million per occurrence or $2 million aggregate. They want your subcontractors to carry $1 million limit on commercial auto, and they want them to carry $1 million on employer's liability, which is part 2 of your work comp. And then they also want them to carry $1 million excess or umbrella policy. So those are the policies that they're looking for. They want your subcontractors to carry these policies. They also want your subcontractors to name your company as an additional insured and indicate that on a certificate of insurance. So your just like when you reach out to us for a certificate of insurance and you need, one of your customers, they send you these insurance specifications and they want to be listed as a cert holder, you need to do the same thing for your subcontractors. When you reach out to your subcontractor, you've got a set few that you really like. These are good subcontractors. They've done a good job for you. They should have, once you do this once, they should have your information in their system, right? So you want a certificate of insurance from your subcontractor showing these limits, listing your company as an additional insured. And then here's some language about the AI, the additional insured, that you can review, kind of on your own time. But I just wanted to show you that these are the limits that they're requiring. Also, the carrier is looking for your subcontractor to indemnify you. So they're going to sign this subcontractor agreement, which is essentially stating that your subcontractors will indemnify you or your business against any loss. So in essence, what we're doing is we're making your subcontractor's policy primary. Means they're going to respond to their negligent act first, and then your policy will become secondary or over their policy in the event that it's needed. So your subcontractor comes in to do some flooring, burns the house down from negligence, their policy responds first. If the limits are blown, meaning they max out their available limits, which is $1 million per occurrence, then your policy would kick in to meet the rest. So that's what the indemnification clause is doing. This is just your sign. We don't need this. Like, Specialty Lines does not need a copy of this subcontract agreement. This is for you. This is to add as part of your standard operating procedures to use on every subcontractor. This is protection for you. This helps you. It'll help your insurance rates. The carrier, as I've said to a lot, the carrier is your partner. It's your business partner. So their job is to take on risk. Your job is to get out there and make the money, and everyone's happy, right? So this makes that circle efficient. So that's the subcontract agreement for GuideOne. This is GuideOne's independent contractor endorsement. So this is in all of their policies. What this endorsement says is that if your subcontractors are not carrying the required limits, then your policy, your deductible is going to go to $10,000 per occurrence. So right now, your policy is issued with a $2,500 deductible. So if your independent contractor doesn't follow, or if you rather don't follow the suggested subcontractor limits, indemnification, certificate of insurance, there's a claim, your deductible is going to be $10,000 per occurrence. So this is GuideOne's subcontractor endorsement. You can find this in your policy if you're with GuideOne. All right, so this is going to be Century. So this is the same format that I showed you just a minute ago. All we did here was add. So Century also requires that your subcontractors have pollution coverage and professional liability coverage. So they've added 2 coverages as a requirement for subs. That's really the only difference here. The indemnification clause is the same. And then here is Century's endorsement. So Century has an endorsement that excludes coverage. If your subcontractors are not carrying these limits, it's general liability, pollution, and professional with a $1 million limit. If they're not carrying these limits, then your policy, if it contains this endorsement, your policy is going to exclude negligent acts from a subcontractor. If you can adopt a subcontractor agreement that meets the carrier's requirements as part of your standard operating procedures, we can have this endorsement removed, and have successfully done so many, many times. So that's why, especially for Century, I mean, it's important for both carriers, but especially for Century, you really, really need to make this part of your standard operating procedure. And again, we do not, Special Lines nor the carrier, we don't need a copy of an executed subcontractor agreement. We just need a copy of the subcontractor agreement you intend to use with your subcontractors. And then also we need verification that you intend to make it part of your standard operating procedures. And then if you don't know what your which carrier that you're with, I know sometimes it can get confusing. There's a lot of names. So this is a certificate of insurance. So what you want to do, here's your general liability, right there. Letter A, insurance, letter A. Letter A is Century. So if you have it on this certificate, A equals Century, B equals Star. So those are the carriers. That's the actual underwritten company for the insurance for this particular policy. So A could equal GuideOne, A could equal Admiral, A could equal Nautilus. There's a bunch of them. A can equal, whatever the carrier is for your general liability, that'll be A. And you can see here, so these are packaged policies, meaning there's one policy with multiple lines of coverage, that we've got A for general, A for the pollution, A for the professional. And then on this COI, this insured also carries an excess policy, which is also with Century. So you'll see the A there. And then the work comp is with Star, which is under the same umbrella as Century. So anyway, that was a quick overview. I did it quick just on purpose. So if you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. But hopefully that will help. And good luck to y'all. Thank you.